48 nations, 104 matches, 39 days. 3 countries, 16 cities, more than 1.5 million extra tickets compared to the last tournament. On paper, the 2026 FIFA World Cup is the most ambitious sporting event ever organized. But the bigger this thing gets, the more pressure it puts on the people running it. Heat warnings across host cities, travel distances no national team has crossed mid-tournament, visa rules changing in real time, players already raising concerns about workload, and one question that won't go away: can FIFA actually deliver what it just promised the world? This video is the story of why the giant machine FIFA built might also turn into its biggest test. Actually, the beginning of this whole story goes back much further than most people think, all the way to January 2017. It was only Infantino's first year as president, and the FIFA Council unanimously signed off on a single decision. The World Cup would now be played with 48 teams. The biggest transformation in the tournament's history had just begun. The idea behind it was actually beautiful. More nations qualifying, more fans from more continents, more chances for countries that had never seen World Cup football before. Then in June 2018, FIFA chose the joint bid of the United States, Canada, and Mexico over Morocco. And just like that, for the very first time in history, a World Cup was going to be staged by 3 different countries together. Back then, the math was simpler: 48 teams, 80 matches, 16 groups of 3. A big tournament, sure, but in those days, everyone still believed this thing was manageable. But things took a very different turn in 2023. The old simple math suddenly lost all its meaning. In March of that year, the FIFA Council met in Kigali and, with an almost quiet decision, completely reshaped the face of the tournament. The original 16 groups of 3 were scrapped. Instead, the tournament would now have 12 groups of 4. And just like that, the number of matches jumped from 80 to 104. To put that in perspective, Qatar 2022 was played across 64 matches. The 2026 edition would have 40 more. A new round of 32 was added. The finalists would play 8 matches in 39 days, and FIFA projected more than $11 billion in revenue. 16 global sponsor slots sold out. Around 1.5 million extra tickets entered the market. On paper, every number was breaking a record. But there was a question quietly hanging in the air back then. Could this tournament really handle being this big? And when you look at the geographical scale of this thing, the picture pretty much tells the whole story on its own. 16 host cities, 3 countries. From Vancouver in the Canadian Northwest to Mexico City in the South, the tournament stretches across nearly 4,000 kilometers. The United States alone is hosting 78 of the 104 matches, 75% of the entire tournament. Now think about it from a team's perspective. Say a side starts its group adventure in Seattle. For the next match, they might have to fly all the way to Miami. That's roughly the same distance as flying from Madrid to Moscow, and they're expected to do this with only a few days of rest in between. For the fans, the picture is even harder. 5-hour flights, multiple time zones, hotels in different cities, and a travel budget no previous World Cup has ever asked of its supporters. Every previous tournament was held inside a single country. But this time, the journey off the pitch is almost as big as the tournament itself. But geography is only one part of the puzzle. Truth be told, the summer of 2025 gave the football world a pretty realistic preview of what 2026 could turn into. The FIFA Club World Cup was held in the United States, using many of the same stadiums set for the World Cup a year later. And what came out of those weeks was a serious wake-up call. The pitches became a talking point first. with PSG manager Luis Enrique openly criticizing the surface at Seattle's Lumen Field. Then came the heat. Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca said even running a normal training session had become difficult, and midfielder Enzo Fernandez had to admit he felt dizzy during a match. FIFA responded by adding 2 3-minute cooling breaks to every game in 2026. And then there's the workload. According to a football benchmark report, the finalists will play up to 8 matches in 38 days, while most European leagues kick off their new season barely a month later. And in 2026, that alarm gets louder than ever. But of course, behind all of this lies the largest financial picture football has ever seen. FIFA has projected more than $11 billion in revenue from the 2026 cycle, with a prize pool of around $871 million. All 16 global sponsor slots were sold out long before kickoff. On the commercial side, every box has already been ticked. But the story on the fans' side looks very different. For the first time ever, FIFA used dynamic pricing, meaning ticket prices, just like airline tickets, could change in real time based on demand. Fan groups, including Football Supporters Europe, openly raised concerns and also criticized FIFA's official resale platform, where reportedly both the buyer and the seller had to pay a 15% fee. So on one side, FIFA is breaking commercial records, and on the other, many supporters are saying it has never been harder to get to a World Cup. And that tension could end up being one of the defining storylines of 2026. There's also a part of this story that has nothing to do with football itself, but might shape the tournament more than anyone expected. In 2025, the U.S. State Department introduced a new measure called the Visa Bond Pilot Program. Under this program, travelers from certain countries had to put down a deposit of up to $15,000 just to obtain a tourist visa. After months of pressure from FIFA and fan groups, in May 2026, the administrations suspended the deposit requirement for fans holding official World Cup tickets. But other rules stayed in place. Travelers from Iran and Haiti still face entry restrictions, with players and staff exempt. In December 2025, the U.S. President personally took part in the World Cup draw at the Kennedy Center, and a dedicated White House task force was set up to coordinate the tournament. So the football side is moving forward, but the travel story is being rewritten almost every single week. So here's where the story really stands. 48 nations, 104 matches, 3 countries, and more question marks than any World Cup has had to face at once. On June 11, 2026, it all kicks off. And by July 19, we'll see, did FIFA truly open a new era? Or did it build something even bigger than itself? Honestly, both outcomes feel possible right now. So where do you stand? Will 2026 be remembered as the tournament that took football to a new level, or the one that pushed it past its limits? Let me know down below. I read every single one.